The Lion and the Grateful Jackal. Long ago, in the wild forests of ancient India, there lived a mighty lion who was the king of all the beasts. One day, while chasing a deer near a great lake, the powerful lion ran straight into a patch of deep, thick mud. His heavy body sank deeper and deeper. He struggled and thrashed, but the more he fought, the deeper he sank until he was trapped up to his chest, unable to move at all. 7 long days the lion lay trapped in the drying mud, growing weaker and weaker under the burning sun. Then one day, a small brown jackal came trotting by the lake to drink. When he saw the mighty lion, he yelped in fright and turned to run. "Wait, little friend," the lion called out weakly. "Please don't be afraid. I am trapped and helpless. If you save my life, I promise no harm will ever come to you." The brave little jackal took pity on the lion. He carefully dug the hardened mud away from each of the lion's 4 legs, one by one. He scraped and clawed and pushed, working tirelessly even though the mud was heavy and tough. When the mud was loose enough, the tiny jackal pushed against the lion's body with all his strength, and with a great heave, the mighty lion was free at last. The lion was overjoyed and deeply grateful. After washing himself clean in the lake, he hunted a buffalo and shared the meal with his small rescuer. From this day forward, the lion declared, "You are not just my friend, you are my brother. Come, bring your family and live with mine in the cave nearby." And so the lion and the jackal, with their wives and cubs, became one big, happy family. For many happy months, the 2 families lived together in harmony. The lion and the jackal hunted together every day, sharing everything equally. Their cubs played together, chasing butterflies and tumbling in the grass. But the lioness watched the she-jackal with growing suspicion. A dark jealousy began to twist in her heart, and she whispered to herself, "Why should we share our food with these lowly jackals?" One day, while the lion and the jackal were away hunting, the lioness cornered the she-jackal and her pups. "Leave this place at once," the lioness snarled, baring her teeth. "Take your wretched family and never come back." The terrified she-jackal gathered her trembling cubs and fled into the forest, tears streaming down her face. She thought the lion himself had ordered them to leave. When the jackal returned home and found his family gone, his wife tearfully told him what had happened. The jackal went to the lion with a heavy heart. "My friend," he said sadly, "if you wanted us to leave, you could have told me directly, instead of having your wife threaten mine. We would have gone with dignity." The lion was shocked, he knew nothing of what his wife had done. The lion turned to his wife with a stern gaze. "This jackal saved my life when I was helpless in the mud," he roared. "Without him, I would have died, and you and our cubs would have had no protector. How dare you drive away the one who rescued your family?" The ashamed lioness hung her head low. The lion then turned to his friend and said gently, "Please stay, brother. You are, and always will be, part of our family." The jackal and his family returned to the cave, and the lioness, ashamed of her jealousy, treated them with respect from that day on. The 2 families lived together in peace and friendship for the rest of their lives, and their children and grandchildren remained friends for 7 generations. And the forest creatures always remembered, true friendship knows no high or low, and kindness should always be repaid with kindness. Moral: true friendship knows no high or low, and kindness should always be repaid with kindness. The Patient Buffalo. Long ago, in the green forests near Benares, there lived a great water buffalo. He was no ordinary beast, he was kind, wise, and believed deeply in the power of patience. Though his horns were sharp enough to pierce stone and his hooves strong enough to crack the earth, he never used his strength to harm another living creature. In the same forest lived a wicked little monkey. He was rude, restless, and always looking for someone to bother. One day, he spotted the great buffalo resting peacefully under a shady tree. "What fun," the monkey giggled. He leaped onto the buffalo's broad back and began jumping up and down, pulling his ears and swinging from his great curved horns. Day after day, the monkey returned to torment the buffalo. He climbed on his head, hung from his tail, blocked his path when he tried to graze, and even threw fruit at him from the treetops. But no matter what the monkey did, the great buffalo simply closed his eyes and bore it all with quiet patience, never once raising his voice or his horns in anger. A tree spirit who lived in a great fig tree nearby had been watching all this. One day, he appeared before the buffalo in a shimmer of golden light. "Great buffalo," the spirit said, "why do you allow this wretched monkey to treat you so badly? Your horns could pierce diamonds. Your hooves could crack mountains. One toss of your head and the monkey would trouble you no more." The buffalo opened his kind eyes and spoke gently. "Dear spirit, what good is strength if I use it against someone so much weaker than me? True patience means enduring hardship from those we could easily crush. If I strike back, I become no better than the monkey himself." He paused thoughtfully. "Besides, this foolish monkey will one day try his tricks on someone who is not as patient as I am. Then he will learn his lesson without me staining my soul with violence." The tree spirit bowed with deep respect and disappeared. And so the days went on. The monkey grew bolder and bolder, convinced that the buffalo was simply too stupid to fight back. He danced on the buffalo's head, rode him like a horse, and boasted to the other animals about how he had tamed the mighty beast. "Look at me," he cried. "Even the great buffalo obeys me." Then one day, the gentle buffalo wandered to a distant meadow to graze in peace. In his usual spot under the shady tree, a different buffalo had come to rest. This new buffalo was fierce and short-tempered, with sharp-pointed horns and fiery red eyes. He did not believe in patience, he believed in teaching bullies a swift and painful lesson. The monkey came swinging through the trees as usual, not even looking carefully. He saw a dark buffalo resting under the tree and laughed. "There you are, my silly old friend." Without a second thought, he leaped onto the new buffalo's back and began his usual tricks, pulling ears, tugging horns, and laughing with glee. But this time, things were very, very different. The fierce buffalo snorted with rage. In one powerful motion, he bucked and tossed the monkey high into the air. Before the monkey could even scream, the buffalo charged and struck him down with his mighty horns. The monkey who had bullied the patient buffalo for so long finally met the consequence of his wicked ways. The other animals of the forest watched in silence, knowing that this day had been a long time coming. When the gentle buffalo returned, the tree spirit appeared once more. "You were right, great buffalo," the spirit said softly. "The monkey met his fate without you lifting a single hoof. Your patience was the truest form of strength." The buffalo nodded quietly. Those who mistake kindness for weakness will always find someone who teaches them the difference. But I am glad that teacher was not me. Moral: those who mistake kindness for weakness will one day meet someone who teaches them the difference. The Pigeon and the Greedy Crow. Long ago, in the bustling city of Benares, a kind and wealthy treasurer lived in a grand mansion. In the warm kitchen of this mansion, a gentle pigeon had made his home inside a cozy wicker basket near the window. The cook was a kind man who always left a handful of grain for the little bird. The pigeon lived peacefully, flying out each morning to find his food and returning each evening to his safe little nest. One day, a sleek black crow perched on the kitchen windowsill and peered inside. The delicious smells of fish and meat cooking in the kitchen made his beak water with desire. "Oh, what wonderful aromas," the crow thought greedily. "If only I could get inside that kitchen, I would feast like a king." Then he noticed the pigeon flying in and out freely, and a cunning plan formed in his mind. The crow flew down to the pigeon and bowed respectfully. "Dear friend," said the crow sweetly, "I have watched you for many days and I admire your gentle ways. You are so calm, so wise, so content with simple food. I wish to follow you and learn from your example. May I be your companion?" The kind pigeon, who saw only the best in others, smiled and agreed. "Of course, friend. You are welcome to join me." For many days, the crow followed the pigeon everywhere. Together they flew over fields and gardens, pecking at seeds and grains. The cook, seeing the pigeon's new friend, even placed a second basket in the kitchen for the crow. But the crow was never truly content with seeds and grains. Each day, as the cook prepared delicious meals of fish and rice, the crow's eyes would grow wide with longing, and he would think about nothing but the food in those steaming pots. One morning, the cook hung a beautiful fresh fish above the hearth to smoke. The crow could barely contain himself. When the pigeon called, "Come, friend, let us go find our breakfast in the fields," the crow pretended to feel ill. "You go ahead," the crow moaned, holding his stomach. "I have a terrible tummy ache today." The wise pigeon looked at the crow with concern and said, "Dear friend, do not let greed take hold of you. Be content with what is freely given. Greed only brings trouble." But the crow did not listen. The moment the pigeon flew away, the crow hopped out of his basket and eyed the fish hungrily. He waited until the cook stepped outside for a moment, then swooped down toward the cooking pot. But in his greedy haste, the crow knocked over a metal colander with a tremendous crash. Clang! Clatter! The startled cook rushed back inside and caught the crow red-handed, his beak dripping with stolen broth. The furious cook grabbed the crow and plucked out his glossy black feathers one by one. Then he rubbed the crow with ginger, salt, and sour buttermilk, leaving the poor bird shivering and miserable. The cook tossed the sorry-looking crow back into his basket and said, "That will teach you to steal from my kitchen." The crow lay there trembling, his beautiful feathers gone, covered in stinging spices, regretting that he had not listened to his wise friend's warning. When the pigeon returned that evening, he found his friend in a terrible state. The pigeon shook his head sadly. "I warned you, dear friend. Greed has brought you nothing but pain. I cannot stay here any longer, for the cook is angry and this place is no longer safe for birds." With a heavy heart, the kind pigeon flew away to find a new home, leaving the crow to suffer the consequences of his greed. And so the wise pigeon taught us all that those who ignore good advice and give in to greed will always come to grief. Moral: greed brings only suffering. Be content with what you have and heed the advice of wise friends.